Let me start with a question. When was the last time that you felt genuinely creative? I don't mean busy, efficient, or productive, but actually creative. Chances are it wasn't when someone was watching you, it wasn't when you were being timed, and it definitely wasn't when you were worried about getting it wrong. Creativity doesn't arrive under interrogation. It arrives under permission. And that matters because creativity isn't just about art or music or ideas. It's how human beings make sense of the world. It's how we solve problems we've never seen before. And it's how we imagine a future that doesn't yet exist. So when creativity starts to shrink, it's never accidental. It's environmental. I define creativity as thoughts turning into ideas and ideas into action. We like to talk about people as if their talents live entirely inside themselves. The truth is, if you put those people, no matter how talented, in the wrong environment, they do not flourish either. The most important question that we need to ask is, why are people not creative? What are our environments training people to do instead? Creativity requires three things that pressure quietly removes: time, safety, and, importantly, the freedom to be wrong. Pressure compresses time. It replaces exploration with urgency. Safety disappears when everything is constantly evaluated, when your attention moves away from the task and onto yourself. Am I doing this the right way? How does this compare? Will this count against me? At that point, creativity ends. What takes over is self-protection. And the freedom to be wrong vanishes the moment mistakes become something to fear rather than something to learn from. So people start to adapt. They stop thinking. They stop taking risks. They stop asking questions they can't already answer, and they stop offering ideas they're not sure will land. Creativity doesn't die. It goes underground. Pressure does not destroy creativity. It just teaches creativity how to hide. Think back to school. The bell goes. You move, you sit, you wait, you raise your hand. You ask for permission. Over time, these aren't just routines, they're lessons. Not written ones, perhaps, silent ones. They teach you when to speak, when to stay quiet, when to move, and when to stop. Schools are built to manage risk, to supervise large numbers, to keep order. Those are understandable aims, but supervision and creativity pull in opposing directions. The more controlled the environment becomes, the more creativity becomes a private activity. Something you do at home. It's not that we're telling children not to be creative, but we have designed places and systems that make creativity feel like an inconvenience. There's a difference between support and surveillance. Support says, I'm here if you need me. Surveillance says, I'm watching in case you don't do what I expect. In heavily monitored environments, people don't relax into thinking. They perform. Performance is about being acceptable. Creativity, though, is about being honest. When people feel watched, they choose safer answers. They copy what works. They avoid standing out. And eventually they internalize this question: what is the least risky version of myself that I can be here? Creativity needs spare mental capacity. It needs space for ideas to wander, to collide, and to combine. But pressure fills that space. When you're managing anxiety, comparison, constant interruption, the fear of being judged, your brain doesn't open up. It narrows. This is why creativity shrinks under that kind of stress. Not because people stop caring, but because the mind switches from exploration to survival. The truth is, creativity is one of the first casualties always when the environment does not feel safe. We've introduced powerful tools without redesigning the human experience around them. Everything is faster, everything is tracked, everything is measurable, but not everything meaningful can be measured. Technology itself is not the villain. Speed is. Efficiency is. Creativity happens in pauses, in unfinished thoughts, in moments when nothing is demanding an answer, when every moment is filled, logged, and optimized. Those spaces disappear, and with them goes imagination. Teachers enter the profession because they care, and I believe that, and because they want to make a difference. That is certainly the reason that I entered the teaching profession. But over time, environments shape them too. When autonomy shrinks, when risk is punished, when creativity is squeezed between targets and paperwork, people don't become worse teachers, they become narrower versions of themselves. People do not lose their spark overnight. It's quietly eroded away by a system that does not have the space to support it. There are many people who do not consider themselves to be creative at all, and that is a massive shame. That is a sign that you have never been exposed to the right conditions or the right environment for creativity to come to the forefront. Without creativity, our lives would stagnate. We would be stuck in a rut. We would never improve. There would be no more literature, no more music, no more movies, and no more of the incredible things that so many people rely on to make our lives richer. We need to support creativity and innovation. We need to celebrate those who think differently. Because every meaningful change in the world began with someone who did not fit. Someone who saw what wasn't there yet. Someone who held on to an idea long before anyone else understood its value. Difference is where possibility lives. It's where progress starts. And when we honor it, we give people permission to become more of who they already are. But possibility needs room to grow. It needs space to breathe. It needs moments that aren't rushed, judged, or forced into shape too soon. Time has to be protected. We need to give children and teachers that time, without the pressure, without the constraints, to become unshackled, unchained to the system that is education. If we can do that, we will see incredible breakthroughs. The truth is, education itself needs that creativity. It needs that innovation to keep moving forward. We cannot stay like this. We are losing some of the greatest creative minds because we did not inspire them enough when they were in school. Think of all the ideas that could have happened but did not happen because we did not harness them. We often talk about creativity as if it arrives in a flash, a breakthrough, a spark, an overnight success. But when you look closely at how meaningful things are actually made, a different pattern appears. Most creative work doesn't emerge fully formed. It emerges slowly, uneven, sometimes invisible. James Dyson built over 5,000 failed prototypes of the vacuum cleaner design before it actually worked. Not because he lacked ideas, but because creativity often advances by ruling things out, not getting things right first time. Charles Darwin spent more than 20 years refining on the origin of species. The ideas didn't arrive overnight. They matured through observation, doubt, revision, and long periods of uncertainty. Vincent van Gogh sold almost no work during his lifetime. His paintings weren't produced in a single inspired rush, but through relentless experimentation. Much of it unseen, uncelebrated, and unsupported. None of this work happened quickly, none of it happened neatly, and none of it happened under constant evaluation. What these stories have in common isn't just talent. It's time to iterate, space to be wrong, and the environments, however fragile, that allowed unfinished ideas to exist long enough to evolve. Creativity doesn't move in straight lines, it never has. It loops, it stalls, it revisits old ground with new understanding. So when we design environments that demand immediate clarity, constant justification, or visible progress at every step, we aren't accelerating creativity. We're interrupting it. Creativity is not a lightning strike. It's weather, and weather needs time to change.